Today I'm doing a crash course on DaVinci Resolve 17. So once you download and install Resolve, this is the first thing you'll see. This is your project manager window. This is where you can open up existing projects that you might already have on the go, or you can just start a new one. And you can store them in here by adding folders as well. But for now, I'm just gonna go and do a new project. Let's call it Crash Course DaVinci Resolve 17, and we'll go create. So this is the DaVinci Resolve interface. And the first thing you notice is down the bottom here. You have these different areas of working or different workspace. So you got your media, you've got your cat for basic edits. You got also edit area, which is where you're gonna do all the editing or your video. Fusion, here is really for special effects and motion graphics. Next one across is color. This is where you can do all your color grades or color correction. Fairlight is for all the audio and all your pro audio tools are in here. And then the lever, this is where you have control over exporting and rendering out your video projects. So typically with any project, you're going to work from left to right. So we're gonna come back across to media area here. Now, just before I start bringing in all my footage and video assets, the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that your project is set up correctly. So you want to come down the bottom here to the setting button, and then this is where you can configure all of the setting and everything for your video. The main ones that you want to change in here are your timelines resolution, and so you can see here we're actually currently Ultra HD. But for this one, we're gonna go to 1080p, so it means 1920 by 1080. You can then select your timeline frame rate. And whatever you select here for timeline frame rate, you wanna make sure that you're selecting the same one here. Under playback frame rate too. Likewise for next one down here, video format, you want to match that again. We can close out of this now, and we can come across and start to import our video footage. Now, as with any video editing application, there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And my personal preference is to come down to the media pool here and right-click and choose Import Media. And find the footage that you want to import. So now that we've got all our media in, or our video assets in, the next step is to start cutting that down. There's two different ways you can do this. DaVinci Resolve does have a cat area or a cat workspace where you can start to trim down your footage with some very basic tools here. So this could be ideally if you want to cut down a heap of different clips, for instance. But my personal preference is to just jump straight into the edit area and start to build out the story or your narrative in here. So the next step here is to bring in all our primary video footage. So we're gonna grab our footage and just gonna drag it down into the timeline here. Here is our timeline interface. You can see as I click, we're able to move through the footage back and forth. Up the top here is your playback monitor. And over here we have a preview window. So if you want to preview any of your clips, is just click and drag them into this area here. And as I click and drag along here, then I'm able to scrub through this footage. And now that I have my playback controls here, if I want to play through the footage, we can hit play. If we want to zoom in and out on our timeline, we can grab this little slider bar here. And also we can use these two little buttons here, detail zoom, which will jump straight into where our playback head is. So, or if we want to zoom back out, see our entire edit, then we can click this one here, full zoom. And that will pull us back out. And if we want to see all our timeline, we can come over here, press this button, and we can customize that up. So if we want to turn off our audio waveform, for instance, or we can customize up the way the video piece look. If we just want one thumbnail image at the start and at the end, we can select this next view, or if we want no thumbnail at all. So the first step here is to start trimming this down. So I will zoom in on our timeline using the slider. And there's a few different tools that you can use to do this. So we can grab our playback head here and we can scrub through, or we can just hit play. And now we can move our cursor back here to the actual start. And you can see that the cursor actually changes. We can click and drag back this way. And our video clip is now gonna start at this point. So I removed all of that stuff at the start of our clip. And now that we have got at the start of the video here though, there's some blank space. So I can just click on that and press delete. And now my actual video starts at this point too. So that's one way. Just using these handles here on the end to slice it in and out. So now let's say that there was a mistake in this first take here, and we actually want to start a video here. We could just grab that handle at the start of the clip and slide it back as we just did. Or we can press B on the keyboard, and in that way we bring up the blade tool. And we can just click on the place, and we've actually cut the clip into different areas. So we can go through and add cuts in our timeline or in our clips just by clicking with the blade tool. Anytime you want to adjust something of your clip, for instance the position or any kind of property, you go to the inspector panel. Now we click it and you can see you can do adjustment like rotating, cropping, even speed changes or stabilization. Speaking of other panels, if you go on the upper left corner here, close to the media pool, you'll find Effect Library. By clicking it, you'll open a panel that has all the effects you need. for instance, if you want to add a title, you just select titles and you can just grab and drop it in your timeline. And in the inspector, you can do all your adjustments. And once that's done, then we're gonna look at it, adding in any transition or effects. So again, for transition or effects, you wanna make sure that you are on the effects library so that we can see this panel down at the bottom here. We will then come over here to video transitions. And there's a lot in here you can choose from. Grab this cross dissolve. You can see it's gonna let me drop it here at the start or at the end. So I'm gonna put one at the start and let's put one at the end so that this title now is going to play through. You can see it's gonna fade in and it's gonna fade back out. Now that you are satisfied with your editing, we are going to look at color grading or color correcting your video. So I'm gonna go back to the start, to the first clip. Now in here, this is an absolute vast area or workspace. This is what DaVinciResolve is really known for. Color grading and professional grade calibrating. We are not going to dive into this in great detail, but I can show you the main tools that you need to focus on. The first thing I'd like to do is make sure that I am seeing the scopes here. So again, this is the visual representation of what's going on in your shot. Now we have our first clip selected here. This is the one that we are going to be tweaking and adjusting first. You can see that if I click on some of these other ones, that we're actually changing and adjusting those clips instead. Let's do our primary footage, and then whatever adjustment we make, we can apply to all the rest of the clips. So the first thing you want to understand here is that this bar along the bottom here, 0, this is your absolute black level. Anything that drops below, that means that you are gonna be losing data or information. Likewise, across the top here on this top line, anything that is going outside or is touching this top line, that means that it's overexposed or we are losing the data in our video. So first off, I'm gonna come across here to lift and I'm going to adjust this slider along the bottom here. And you can see that as I move this, I'm able to pull this down or lift it up. But I want to make sure that where I'm setting in it is so that it really isn't touching the bottom. Then I'm going to come across to the gain and it's going to do the same things but on the top of it. And then I'm going to go to the gamma one here, the midtones, and I'm going to adjust this one. So we can see we're able to now brighten the shots overall or darken it off. But we are not hitting those max limits. Now down the bottom here, you've then got your saturation adjustments. So if we click on this and slide it, you can see that we are able to boost the colors in there. Or if we go back, it's gonna make it black and white. And if you want to make minor adjustments to the actual colors on each of these areas, the dark areas of your shot, the light areas of your shots, or the midtones, then inside of these color wheels, you can actually come in and grab this little circle in the middle, grab this and just move it towards the color that you want to add more of. So you see, if we want to add more blue, I'm gonna pull this down towards the blue and it adds more blue. Likewise, back towards the orange or the yellow, we're able to make adjustments like this as well. Now, obviously, this is a barely scratching the surface of what you can actually do in here, but as a beginner tutorial, these are the things that you should focus on, and that they can adjust to make your shot look close the way you would like to. Now, once you're happy with that and you want to apply it to all the other clips as well, we can right click on this preview here and choose grab still. And you'll see we got a still that show up on here. Once we get that created, we can select the clip that we want it to apply to. And we can come up here, right click on it, and choose apply grade. And that's gonna apply to this next clip as well. Now, the other way that we can do it is we just gonna copy and paste. We can come over here to our node, which has all of those settings and everything we applied. We can select that. We can press Command C or Control C to copy that. We can then go to the clips that we want to paste it on, and then use the keyboard shortcuts for paste. So Command V or Control V. And we're able to paste that into those remaining clips. And once you're done with that, the next step is to export your video. So you want to come down here to the delivery workspace. And then we have all of our export settings here that show up on the side. You also have built-in presets, like for YouTube or Vimeo exports. You can give to your file a name, the file location, resolution, frame rate, based on the project setting of your timeline. So you need to click down here on Add to Render Queue. Now it's not actually saving out yet, and it won't save until we hit this Render All button. You can also decide to export just a section of your timeline, and then export just that segment. So what we need to do now is hit this Render All button, and we can see our rendering progress here. Now, once you're done, I would strongly recommend that you're playing back your video on your computer, but also ideally on or some sort of device so that you can make sure that it looks good and sounds the way that you want it.